Okay, so the name of this exercise is shoulder external rotation, PAILs and RAILs, also with a passive stretch to boot. The equipment that you will need with this is either, well, maybe you can do it from the floor. It really depends on what kind of assessment you've had or how far you can get your arm back into external rotation. But you could, something like a yoga block, maybe of use to you, okay? Or books of the equivalent height. A quick check, if you haven't been assessed, to know whether you're going to need one of these is by lining up elbow at shoulder height as you work yourself back, hand back towards the wall behind you. If you're already starting to tighten up and you reach your end range before, say, your hand is in line with your ears, then you're probably just going to need to go from the floor, or maybe even need to regress even further. I'll be using a yoga block right now. When we're doing this exercise, we want to feel the stretch in the front of the shoulder, trying to open up the front of the shoulder, no pinching on the back of the shoulder. We will then hold in your program for 2 minutes for that passive stretch to really take hold. And then we will then do the PAILs and RAILs. PAILs being pushing into the resistance, rotational direction from the shoulder, loading the stretch tissue. And then we will do the RAILs contraction, which would be to capture the regressive tissue on the back of the shoulder. So we're talking about rotator cuff, we're talking about lat, trying to create more strength in that regressive capsule tissue. So, as recommend, everybody goes prone down on the floor, 90 degrees or perpendicular to the body, and build up from the floor the block underneath your arm at the appropriate height in order for you to feel the stretch in the front of the shoulder. Now, an important thing I like to do with a lot of people is, rather than trying to force yourself into higher and higher range, would be then to just try and breathe your body around the shoulder joint, dropping the rib cage down so that you're not too flared up. And that can elicit a static stretch or a passive stretch that's better than actually having to try and raise yourself up all the time, which can be quite aggressive. So you'd be head down, taking nice long nasal breaths through the shoulder. The shoulder blade is relaxed towards the back pocket. Take a breath. When we do our PAILs, we're going to be thinking about pushing our hand down into the block or wherever it is. Okay, loading the tissue in the front of the shoulder without the shoulder coming forward. Keep the wrist straight and the elbow at 90 degrees. We push down for however long your PAILs and RAILs are. And then your RAILs contraction is to try and create space between your hand and the block. Looking for all the stuff in the back of the shoulder here. Okay? You would then repeat that for as many rounds